Was that L? The way he's walking the slump. To detect any change in micro expressions. Because micro expressions are extremely hard to fake for ordinary people. But if you're a sociopathic, or in this case, psychopathic, then you do have the reservoir and the ability to disengage with your cognitive dissonance by faking and having this perfect pro-social masking as I've analyzed previously. Hello friends, my name is Benoit Kim, a UPenn educated psychotherapist. In today's video, episode 9, you can expect to learn about counter-interrogation psychology, the role of psychological provocation that's often utilized by behavioral analysis units, behavioral profiling, and much, much more. I appreciate you guys bearing with me for watching dub for episode 8 due to the potato chip and countless requests in the comments and emails. But now we're back to Sub Nation. Assassination Zero is a sponsor of this video. Join our sponsor tier to become a sponsor highlight for my videos moving forward. Shout out to the best patron family, and let's tune in. All right. Excited for episode 9. The show is getting so intense. Very, very excited. Whoa. All right. Starting with some hentai magazine. Oh, this is recap from episode 8. My diligent son. Okay, so it looks like we're starting with some recap. The very dramatic, melodramatic potato scene. It's so brilliant. Honestly, that was impressive. Encounter is the title episode, it sounds like. And I'm guessing maybe this is the episode where Light or Kira, because as I mentioned beforehand, Kira has now become primary identity for Light Yagami. The identity and the essence of Light Yagami, who I think was trying to do justice in the beginning. I do agree with that. But I think that identity of Light Yagami, the once innocent high school, is now dead. And instead replaced by this new identity, Kira. So I think this is the episode probably suggests that Kira will be meeting L in this episode. So that's probably what Encounter is. And the last thing I'll say with the continuation of episode 8 is I think L is still suspecting Light Yagami, the high school student, the son of Chief Yagami, because everything was too smooth. With how intelligent and highly deductive with the unparalleled logic skills that L has, I think he knows that when everything looks too perfectly seamless, when everything looks too ordinary, it's actually extraordinary, or an unordinary rather. So I think that L has his ongoing suspicion that something is off. There's no hard proof, but his intuition. Remember I talked about L is not an empiricist. Rather, he goes off based on high probabilistic, based on his intuitions and symptoms and behavior observation. So I think with this high probability approach, I think he's going to continue to approach Light Yagami in this episode, I'm guessing, because something is off. He is too ordinary, and that suggests that something is sus. Very excited. Is Yoke still stretching?
リンゴ食べたくて適当なこと言ってるんじゃないだろうな。
おいおい、俺はライトの半径100メートル以内を何度も飛び回って確認した。
1500 fake news.
てるだろう。お前だって本当ならこっそり入れるはずと言ってたじゃないか。
分かったよ、リュウク。リンゴ。
やったー。
Quick pause before Yoke finally go through his withdrawal with this gift of an apple. I have a quick question about Yoke or Shinigamis. Yes, I'm finally correcting my mispronunciation. I know I mispronounced with Shigami, but Shinigami. as some people suggested, I think in episode 4 or 5. But I already recorded 8 episodes until now, so it's too late. But moving forward, I'll correct it to Shinigami, so rejoice. I have a general question about Shinigamis. I'm not sure why writers portray them as very human. It's almost very humane. They dance, they go through withdrawal symptoms as if humans do, because you only go through withdrawal if you have addiction. So I'm not sure why the writers made Shinigamis so humane or human-like. Is it for relatability for the viewers? Is there a deeper meaning? And what is the true nature of Shinigamis? Some viewers suggested in comments, and yes, I try my best to read all of them and respond to all the comments because I appreciate your engagements. Some people suggested that Shinigamis are simply people who are dead. Their souls get transformed into Shinigamis in some sort of unknown, mystical, selective process by the boss of Shinigami realm. So is that the reason why Shinigami still retain some of their former human behaviors? Like Yoke, he dances. He twists his neck when he's going through withdrawal. But why are Shinigami so human-like? That's my question. And was Yoke's former identity a circus person? Like circus performer? Dude. It's like Light is feeding a dog. Yoke the puppy?
ちゃんと芯まで食べろよ
Oh. Oh, wow. I forgot invisible.
しまいには俺のデスノートに名前書いて殺すぞ
Oh.
かよ
そうだなまだ最後の仕上げが残っている
Did you see that Kira didn't even react or startled by Yoke's comment? I can't believe you made me go through all this dirty work and deprive me of my precious joy, Apple. So maybe I'll write your name on my death note and kill you. Because as we know, Yoke has 2 death notes based on what other Shinigamis denoted in the earlier episodes. But what I want to zoom in on is the lack of emotional response, facial expression, or affect, definition right here. Affect is a clinical term for emotional and facial responses. Kira had 0 response. He didn't even acknowledge Yoke's threats, whether it's a joke or not. He was truly non-responsive. I think that is a deeper implications that Yoke has truly now prided himself as an equal level as Yoke, a true Shinigami. Because Light Yagami is a false god, as I have established many times. Do you guys see that? Would you respond to an ant? Would you respond to a chihuahua? A very non-threatening, a puppy or a dog, doesn't matter how much they bark. Because we know a lot of course I'm generalizing and I'm not an animal expert, but generally speaking, chihuahuas are all bark, no bite. Of course there are exceptions, but I think that's that's Kira's psychological state manifesting externally, that I don't care about your threat. It's very non-threatening because I am also a god. Or am I thinking too much?
龍崎
はい
一昨日のひったくり犯と横領犯の心臓麻痺あれは私の家族が情報を得てない間に起きた疑いは晴れたのでは
そうですねいくらキラが死の時間を操れても報道を見る前に死の時間を持ってこられるとは考えられますまた息子さんが帰ってきました
Light bulb moment.
まただんまりで勉強のふりか
もうカメラの位置は全て把握してあるポテチの仕掛けで殺せたのはひったくり犯と横領犯
Potato chip trick.
借り物になってしまった
では続いて
報道された犯罪者が死んでも逆に僕が報道を得ていない時にだけ軽い罪の者が死んだということで疑うことも可能ではある
It's literally as if Kira is reading L's minds. He is reiterating everything that L was saying in previous episode with Chief Yagami. Again, in a very ironic way, Kira and L, they truly are soulmates in the most twisted way. They're intellectual soulmates, or rather nemesis. They can read, they can act and predict and pre-plan as if they're hearing or conversing with each other on this invisible dimension. It's truly, truly impressive.
つまり僕がテレビを見ている時に報道された罪の軽い犯罪者も殺しておけば特別視されない。そして外に出た時のために罪の重さにかかわらずニュース等で報道されたものの名前を覚えておき財布の中に仕込んでおいたデスノートで死の時間を適当にばらつかせ殺す。
Remember, like a concealed carry? Before him, it's a supernatural weapon of death notes. Another quick pause. I really appreciate Kira's internal monologue because of his forced concealment due to cameras and surveillance set up by L. I really appreciate writers' creativity and their plot writing because in the beginning, I was like, how would this impact the show and the viewing experience for the viewers? By him having to be silenced in the house and only speak internally, which we of course can see. It's a brilliant move by the writers because through this internal dialogue, we're glimpsing into psychological states, the ongoing blossoming and manifestation of psychopathy. So it's really, really good that because of external pressure, we're seeing and revealing further into the internal reality of Kira. Beautifully done.
この数日間の盗聴テープとカメラ映像のビデオを何度も再生し検証してみました。結論から言わせてもらいます。
Conclusion.
北村家、八神家の中で怪しい者はいません。
No one. Dude, Chief Yagami was sweating.
結局容疑者は伊豆か。
気を抜くな。もう一度引き締め直すんだ。
勘違いしないでください。
Hmm?
映像を見ている限りは怪しい者はいないという意味です。
Oh.
あの
Oh.
中にキラがいたとして。
Bro, put on some socks, L.
いや、何も出さずに今まで通り犯罪者を葬っているということです。
Sorry, I was a little bit surprised by the prolonged focus and zoom in of L's toes. Jeez, he was literally like flaking dead skins.
Oh! Ew! Dude! What the fuck?
I'm not sure why the writers did that, but here comes my overthinking. I think that's another depiction and reinforcement of the knowledge that L most likely resides on the spectrum, or as I suspected, level 1 ASD, level 1 autism spectrum disorder. Again, think about the social norm. You're having this very, very serious conference with your detective team for Kira's case. You're sitting next to Chief Yagami, who is a police chief, but you have your legs propped up, no socks, bare feet, and yes, because this is a Japanese culture, maybe they take their shoes off indoor. Possibly, I'm not sure. But the thing is, would you be cleaning your toes or playing with your toes when having this such a serious ordeal of a meeting? No. Of course, with this hunched back and all these cues and behavior symptoms, I think it's further depicts he is probably on the spectrum, like I talked about. But what a unexpected zoom in on his toes and feet.
では、龍崎はやはりキラはあの中にいると。
His diligence is amazing, of course.
5% です。
5%.
キラによる殺人は行われていた。どんな方法で殺人を行っているかはわからないが、仮に念じる。
Look at that awful posture.
普通の人間。
Oh, blue, color blue.
や表情に何らかの変化はあっていいはず。あの中にキラはいない。そう考えるのが普通だろう。しかし、もしキラがあの中にいるのなら、キラの精神はすでに神の域に達している。青色一つ変えず悪人を裁いている。もはやキラなど存在しない。本当に神の裁きと考えたいほど。顔と名前が必要なんて。
Interesting.
神の裁きではなく、神の裁きを気取った子供じみた者がいる。
So accurate.
キラという大量殺人犯は必ずその出ていても、キラが殺しの兆候や態度を見せるとは思えない。
Spot on analysis.
自分がキラですと言ってもらい、殺しを実際にやってみせてもらうのが一番いい。そんなことできるはずが。
Another pause that might be my favorite monologue or internal monologue since the show started. I could be wrong, but I don't remember any internal monologue by L. It's only been Kira so far. And I love how humanistic or the humane or human portrayal of the writers for L. So far, L has exhibited OCPD traits, level 1 ASD traits, and his superhuman-like intelligence and deduction skills. And in my mind, I've been thinking, dang, does he have no fear, no doubts, no skepticism? He's so confident, almost delusionally so. But finally, in this episode, with that self-internal monologue, we see that L is indeed a human. He does have emotions and feelings. He does have moments of doubt. Exhibit A, he said that I really wish Kira doesn't exist and this is a divine judgment. Think about the amount of chronic and acute stress he's under since he took on Kira's case. He's never met anyone on par intellectually to play this invisible 4D dimension chess until Kira. He's never had to be vulnerably exposing his anonymous self. Remember, he had lost 2 moves as he said so. So deep inside in his human of hearts, he's like, damn, I do low-key kind of wish that Kira isn't real and this is a god imposing divine intervention. Another layer of that internal monologue is it talks about the very spiritual culture of Japanese culture. Japanese culture is known for believing thousands of gods or hundreds of gods. And as we know that, as I think Kira established in the earlier episode, apparently in this world setting, the rumors of shinigamis were real. Or at least some of them have heard the rumors before. So we know that a lot of Japanese people are, you can call them superstitious or spiritual, whatever the case. So it makes sense why he said what he said. Doesn't matter how intelligent or quote logic you are, a lot of people have faith in something. Because as Friedrich Nietzsche once said, God is dead. The rise of nihilism. When Friedrich Nietzsche, the famous German philosopher, when he said that God is dead, he wasn't in this exciting proclamation. Rather, it was a doom and gloom mentality because when God is dead, something has to fill in that void based on the Judeo-Christian traditions or anything else. And oftentimes, many people fill in that void and substitute that void with money, wealth, influence, and themselves. But imagine the psychological stress and burdensome nature of burdening the responsibility of the world by ourselves. This life of great unknown. So I think in this case, back to L, he really hopes that Kira doesn't exist. But we see that his conviction kicks in, is that Kira definitely exists based on his sequence of logical thinking, and I will catch him. So I love that monologue because the show is telling us that, yes, L is seemingly superhuman with his intelligence, but he is a human, he is immortal nonetheless, and he shares universal feelings in the human condition of doubts, skepticism, low mood, and so on. I think it made L more personable and approachable for me because, yeah, he's a human, although he's amazing at what he does.
おいライトやっぱりカメラ撮れてるぞ全部だ全部ライト
全部だ
聞いてるのか
In Korean, it's 전부다. Very
なあ
similar.
ライトまだ盗聴器はついているかもしれないのか
Another quick pause. Someone commented in the last episode that Yoke is not very smart. I guess my question is Yoke or Shinigamis not smart or they just don't care? And do they even have brain cells? Do they have any neural network? Can we even label Yoke or Shinigamis as smart or dumb? Or are they just lazy? They just don't really care. Because he was like, oh yeah, I forgot. There might be wiretaps. Because anyone else might still suspect that just because there's no cameras doesn't mean the detective team also took away the wiretapping. But Yoke is like, whoops, I forgot. So yeah, can we even label them as smart or not? And do they even have brain cells? How does that work?
計算通りだ
Back
し
to
かしエレは
apples.
キラを追い続けるだろうだがまだ日本警察を使っているのならその動かしているものの中に必ず父はいる父を利用してエレの正体をつかみ消すことも
It's an old trick. Not gonna work against L.
エルさえ消せばキラは新世界の神にまた一歩近づく
His savior complex, man. Full blown.
ライト早くしなさいカリねお兄ちゃん頑張って
Must be the national exam.
大げさだな言っときます
His dual identity. It's crazy.
長期もない
It's
こ
like
とが分かって
seamless.
すっきりしたな。
試験前に一つのストレス要因がなくなってよかったそして大学に入ってしまえばキラとして動く時間
For most students, like in Japan and Korea, since I know those cultures, even actually in China, actually, since I spent 6.5 years in China, I obviously am Korean. Also, I lived a little bit in Korea, and I have some proxy knowledge of Japan. But generally speaking, people in these Eastern Asian countries, going to college is probably one of the most important ordeal. And they all go through extremely rigorous, cumbersome and tedious national exam process or a national entrance exam going from high school to college. And for most Asians, going to college, that in itself is the end goal because that will unlock new job opportunities, prestige, future income status, and so on. But for Kira, because he's psychopathic, because he is sick with this grandiose narcissistic savior complex disorder, and I am calling it disorder because it has severe impairments, causing terror, and he is also a domestic terrorist in many ways. This is just a means to an end. I want to go to college and I can't wait, not because of job or other income possibilities, but rather I can dedicate more time to killing people and becoming a savior by course correcting this rotten, screwed up world. So interesting.
試験開始10分前だよ早くしなさい
教室で待つの嫌だ
10 minutes
3分前に入ろうと思ってたのに早く着いたな
すげえ余裕
That's not confidence. That's narcissism. And I'm sure he will do well. It's weird seeing Light in this very ordinary high school setting. He looks so disinterested, almost bored.
そこ受験番号162番ちゃんと座りなさい
Say it properly. Is that L? No freaking way. Bare feet. L is here? Dude, the freaking encounter begins. I just got full body goosebumps. What is going on? What is going on? He came to approach Light in person? What is L thinking? Here comes encounter though. Oh my gosh. Guys, put on your seatbelts. My brain's about to go ham. What is this? Shinigami realm? I am so hyped for the rest of this episode.
竜宮が人間に飼われているらしい
何考えてんだ一体
まったく死神のプライ
Interesting.
のは飼ってる人間の方
ああ
竜宮ペットにしたって可愛
Yoke the puppy, what I say.
い覗いてこよった
やれやれ
I love that Yoke and Kira has become part of the reality TV show for the Shinigami realm. That's hilarious. But I just want to go into the juxtapositions or this dichotomy. Version A is Yoke's sentiment and his perspective about the rotten nature of the Shinigami realm. Remember what he said? They're rotten, they lost their ways, they're merely extending their life for the sake of. Very purposeless. That's why Yoke, in a sense, respects Kira more than his fellow colleagues, as he mentions. But here's the other perspective by the remaining Shinigamis in the realm of death. They're like, Yoke has lost his way. What is he thinking? And of course, he's like, I'm talking about the human, but I think the sentiment is bi-directional. So it's very interesting to see that everyone has their own perspective about the world. And in a way, everyone's perspective is distorted. One of the most famous philosophers, I forgot the name, but he once talked about that there is actually no objective reality. Why? Because every single person filters the perceptions of this so-called reality based on their own upbringing, their own biases, because everyone has cognitive biases, whether explicit or implicit. So how can there be objective reality if everyone is seeing through a different lens, their more personal, subjective lens? Can objectivity remain objective when filtered through the lens of subjectivity? I guess it's a question for other philosophers and physicists to tackle. But that's the case in point for that quick scene. Yoke views this world very different than the way other Shinigamis do. So very interesting. So peaceful. Definitely a setup for some intense scene that's to come. It's suspiciously peaceful with falling cherry blossoms. Like, come on now. He looks so proper.
ライトも大学生か。
Okay, so time flash forward. Another quick pause. It just hit me that I wonder, was there a deeper symbolism of that dialogue among Shinigamis? Because we saw that the time frame went from taking the entrance exam to the entrance day for college admission. So I guess my question is, what is the difference in time perception, if any? Do Shinigamis share the same time perception as humans? Or rather, does the time flow the same in the realm of Shinigamis versus the human realm? Or am I just overthinking as usual? But I'm curious, yeah, how does the time differ, if any, between these two realms? Representative, because he was number one. Hideki Yoga, who is that?
龍河秀樹ってあのアイドルの
What?
まさかあいつに東大入る学力あるかよ本当アイドルの龍河とは似ても似つかないや
There's two number one. Was that L? The way he's walking the slump.
こいつだったとは
What is
セント
going
ラ試
on?
験前期にって
What is going on, dude?
やり方をして完全に一人で浮いてたやつだ新たな命が燃え譲る春の息吹の中
これって入試トップの成績で入ったやつがやるんだよな
Two number one.
二人いたってことだろ
本日は
二人とも全教科満点って噂だよマジでやっぱいるんだそういうのって
Perfect score.
私は断然右かな教科はあんた変普通左だって
I like they have different fan base.
対照的だなああ一人はいかにも温室育ちの秀才って感じだがもう片方は
新たな命が燃え譲る春の息
They're repeating the same commencement.
相当変わってるな
I don't know if this commencement speech, but whatever entrance speech.
東大の入学式にあの服装で挨拶
His hunched back, is it unfixable? Can any chiropractors or physical therapists fix L's back? Or is it irredeemable beyond saving? What do you guys think? Alright, I'm going to pause because I think that's a very, very significant scene. Here we go. Obviously, they two scored 100% on everything. As we know, intellectually, L and Light are on par. Although, in one of the questions I asked in episode 4, I was asking who is winning the chess match. And of course, everyone had different thoughts. And I said until now, Light or Kira has been winning. But to be fair, Kira has this unfair advantage of supernatural weapon of death notes. But L, on the other side, I'm guessing is older. He has more detective experiences, more experiential wisdom and experiential knowledge about detection, deduction, logic, because he's a professional detective. So I think it's very hard to say who's actually smarter, but they're definitely on par, generally speaking. So it makes sense. They're both the top scorers at the same time, because you can't do better than 100% on all subjects. But I want to lean into the dramatic difference in their presentations, as many audiences denoted while they're listening to their entrance speech. Light Yagami is very, very presentable as like an actual number one high school or college students now. Whereas L, with whatever fake alias he used, is still hunching his back. He wore shoes, thank God, because it would be too against the societal norms if he just goes up in bare feet. So that's good. Do we see the visual differences in the representations? But also, here is the hidden layer that I'm thinking about. I think part of this encounter, which is the title of this episode, I think L is going to use social anomaly, definition right here, It's behavior symptoms and behavioral signs that is anomalous and so different from the established societal norms. That's social anomaly. I think he's using social anomaly in a social engineering sense. Definition right here. Because in the episode with Kira versus Ray Penner, he used social engineering to hold him hostage along with everyone else psychologically, which ultimately proved the defeat of Ray because he never stood a chance and the victory of Kira. In this case, L is also using social engineering through the usage of social anomaly to provoke and incite any reaction behaviorally or psychologically from Kira because he wants to know that is Light Yagami truly innocent or is he still a suspect? And here's what I mean. This is a common tactic used by behavior analysis unit. Definition right here. They are the unit that works with forensic team, a lot of police force. They're the ones who analyzes behavior symptoms professionally to look for clues when they're catching sociopaths, psychopaths, or criminals, anything in between. And one of the things that behavior analysis unit or BAU utilizes often is micro expression observation. Definition right here. They're observing micro expressions as the slightest of change in their behavior symptoms of suspects and criminals by provoking them intentionally but very strategically. So if Light is truly an ordinary or I guess extraordinarily smart student, but ordinary in a sense that he's not Kira, then he would have some sort of a reaction. Because any Japanese person seeing a person that's so against the social norms like L would have some natural responses. Not always bad, not always judgmental, but we will maybe flinch or like, oh, why are you dressing like that? Oh, why are you walking like that? Oh, why do you have these voids in your eyes? Either innocent or judgmental, normal, non-sociopathic people would have a natural response. That's the micro expression. But on the other hand, if Light Yagami has no change in his micro expressions, have no change at all, that actually means he's suspicious. Because when you can resist that innate or reflexive responses through micro expressions, it means you're sociopathic. Because ordinary people don't have the self-control to resist that urge. Because remember what I said in the potato scene. Light Yagami was seemingly too perfect, too air quote normal, which actually made L suspicious of Light Yagami. That's the irony, right? So in this case, this is like a level deeper. I think through this encounter, pun intended, L is trying to observe any change in Kira's micro expressions through social anomaly. Ooh, that was a little bit long-winded, but very, very profound.
警察庁八神総一郎局長の息子さんであり、そして自らも警察官僚を目指し、過去に
It's so odd socially what he's doing right now.
今キラ事件にも興味を示している。キラ事件に関する重大なことをお話ししたいと思っています。
Is he gonna tell himself he's L? No freaking way. I'm gonna shit myself.
相手にしない方がいいのか。
I'm gonna shit myself if that's what he does.
重大なことって誰にも言わないよ。何？
Oh, whoa, I forgot about yoke.
私は L です。まさか何を言ってるんだこいつ。
Sorry, I forgot to close my jaw.
L が L だと言うはずがない。変なやつだとは思っていたが、マジでおかしいのか。まずい。動揺するな。もし
micro expressions right here.
八神総一郎の息子、八神ライトとして自然な行動を取らなくては。
Jesus Christ.
もしあなたがそうなら、僕の
Wow.
憧れの人です。
Color theory. Red versus blue.
キラ事件解決の力になっていただけるかもしれないと思ったからです。八神ライト、キラである可能性は 5% 未満。しかしあの中では一番何かを感じさせた。
See, gut feeling, that intuition. Too perfect. What did I say, dude?
これ以上のプレッシャーはないだろう。
こいつがもしエルだとしたら大したもんだな。
確かにこいつがエルだとして、いや実はエルじゃなくともだ。僕はこいつに何もできない。
Wow.
こいつの話が本当なら父にもエルとして顔を明かしているだろう。
Wow.
自分がエルだと言ったこいつが死んだ。
Wow.
先に僕に疑いがかかる。しかもこいつ龍が秀樹などとあからさまな偽名を使っている。こいつを殺そうと嫌でも頭の中に浮かぶアイドルの方の龍河が死ぬかもしれん。こいつは死なずに僕がキラだという推測が立つ。そして僕をキラだと疑っているのか。どの程度かわからないが疑われているのは確かだ。他に八神総一郎の息子にエルだと名乗る理由
Wow. So much information.
だものの範囲でまだ捜査しているということか。しかしなぜエルが直接僕の前に。今はダメだ。何も考えない方がいい。澄ました顔をしていなくては。こいつは絶対今僕が動揺していないか観察している。
Whoa, I just need a few seconds to gather my thoughts. That might be the most intense encounter, pun intended, since the entire show started. Wow, there's so many psychological concepts and implications. So that proves my suspicions of L's approach, which is what behavior analysis unit does, as I mentioned earlier. By using social anomaly, by provoking psychologically in a very strategic sense and subtle sense to detect any change in micro expressions. Because micro expressions are extremely hard to fake for ordinary people. But if you're sociopathic, or in this case, psychopathic, then you do have the reservoir and the ability to disengage with your cognitive dissonance by faking and having this perfect pro-social masking as I've analyzed previously. But can we talk about the color theory? This is the first time we're seeing in person through this direct encounter, blue versus red. Secondly, we're seeing for the first time yet again a dual reality perspective of internal reality and internal monologue of L, and internal reality and internal dialogue or internal monologue of Kira, simultaneously back to back. And shout out to Kira, because you're making my analysis effort a lot easier, because I didn't even realize with this encounter, because only thing I glimpse into is a micro expression aspect, but there are 4 more layers underneath that. As Kira said beautifully, this is like an invisible insurance policy for L's safety. He used a fake alias, who's the name of a very well-known pop star, it looks like. And as Kira said, if he tries to kill L, the face of that pop star will show up inevitably because he's famous. That's what public figure means. And the pop star will die, which means confirmed suspect of Lei Yagami is indeed Kira. Second thing, his father, Chief Yagami, already met L. If he truly is L, because of the Kira's detection or Kira's investigation team. So there is triple safety layer for L. So L is very, very safe right now, even though he's doing this seemingly most risque move of all time by exposing himself to Kira himself. But do you see the overthinking and the spiral thinking and racing thoughts that Kira is going through? It's interesting because earlier in the first half of this episode, I talked about how L portrayed his human side by revealing his inner skepticism through the viewers with this beautiful monologue earlier. But here in the second half of this episode, we're seeing, probably for the first time since the beginning of the series, Kira's human side. He was seen for the third time psychologically. He couldn't help but have racing thoughts and overthinking and spiral thinking, definition right here. His anxiety is manifesting and revealing to the viewers because of this high stake situation and this strategic encounter. But again, his psychopathic tendency shows up and overpowers his human side. I cannot act any different. I need to control my micro expressions. I have to empty my mind, because I know that L is observing me right now next to me. His ability to completely segregate and compartmentalize the internal reality from the external expressions is truly, truly superhuman level, or very common for an high IQ psychopath, which Kira is one. That was such an intense scene with double internal monologues and the simultaneous break of two conflicting internal realities. Damn, that was amazing. Absolutely amazing. Wow.
面白い入学式だったぜ。
So
ライ
fun
ト
for Yoke and us, but stressful for Kira and L.
八神くん、
おいライト、あいつが呼んでるぜ。
今日はどうも。いえ、こちらこそ。
Look at that posture, social anomaly again.
リムジン
じゃあ、今度はキャンパスで。あ、そうだね。
Damn, damn, I didn't know he was this rich.
あいつしかも首席嫌な感じ
So Watari was a butler. I made it as a joke earlier because he reminded me of the butler slash personal assistant to Bruce Wayne, the Batman. But in actuality, Watari is an actual butler to L. Wow, L is an interesting character, huh? So he is seemingly extremely wealthy and affluent and coming from a very upper class. Because to drive a car like that, a limo in Japan, and by the way, cars in Asia cost way more than a lot of cars in the United States because the import-export laws, right? So a person to drive a limo like that is actually more affluent than someone of an equal status in America per the context of the country. So L's background is also very, very interesting. So did he pass the test? Will they reveal it in this episode? Wow, dude.
お、東大生おかえり。
See? He's revealing. Oh, look at that rage.
やられた。
エルメ、こんな屈辱が生まれて初めてだ。
なあ、死神の目の取引をして殺せばいいじゃないか。
そんなことをして、もしこれが罠だったらというようなものなんだよ。
悪い。
死神が人間を殺すのと人間が人間を殺すのを同じ次元で考えるな。
Dramatic music.
デスノートでは名前を書いたその人間一人しか殺せない。誰かを操って殺させることができない。
He's so flustered. Yup, he's so flustered and outraged.
かれば自己死や自殺でいいと考えた。しかし本人だと分かっても僕にエルだと宣言した以上手遅れかもしれない。どんな死に方でもエルが死ねば警察を疑う。
True.
ってくるなんてことは考えもしなかった。
Wow.
キラの可能性のあるものにはエルの分身でも構わない。エルだと名乗っておく。これはエルにとってキラに対するかなり有効な防御であるとともに攻撃でもある。やられたよ。いい手だ。あのとぼけたふりした龍河がこれから大学でどんどん僕に接近し操ろうとしてくるだろう。
Psychopath Kira is back. So creepy, dude. True. Wow, that's so true. Wow.
面白いよ龍河。
Wow.
お前
Holy moly guacamole, y'all. That was so intense. I want to talk about the stare, which was part of the flashback that Kira mentioned in the show just now. Usually, eye contact symbolizes friendliness, rapport building, emotional resonance. But in this case, that stare is nothing of kindness or compassion related. It's strictly about power and maintaining control. They were literally having a psychological and literal stare down to see A, who averts the eye gauge first, and second, who is going to maintain the dominant position, either in chess move or psychologically. And this is the first time in the last 9 episodes that Kira admitted his defeat. Remember in the previous episode, L admitted that he lost 2 moves. Him forfeiting his anonymous backgrounds, and 2, the death of 12 FBI agents. And this is the first time Kira is like, damn, I underestimated him. And that begs a question for me, how old is L? Is L also in high school or college students now? Because of, I don't know, I just like, how old is he? I guess he could have worked as the secret detective as young as college students now, because as L denoted, Kira apparently also helped solve several cases in the past, even when he was in high school, since intelligence doesn't really discriminate one's age. So that's my question. How old is he? But last thing I would say is we saw the skepticism and rage. Again, this is the concept of pro-social masking, as I mentioned numerously in the series so far. But as soon as at the comforts and privacy of Kira's own home, his emotional home base, because home represents safety, or as it should, he took off his pro-social mask. He was enraged. As Ryok mentions, he's been always calm, but now he's fuming because L truly got to Kira emotionally and psychologically. So L's encounter was a success in every domain. So impressive. But then what do we see? Kira's psychopathy and his grandiose narcissistic tendencies came right off. With his psychopathic smirk, he started laughing like a manic laughters. And he's, oh, this is fun. They have nothing on me. Because if the police had something on Lai Yagami, L would not have been forced to use this extremely risky yet highly calculated move. So again, this reveals how smart Kira is. So I guess the question is, who's winning right now? Has L finally caught up? Or is Light still winning because L was forced to make this move? What do you guys think? Who is winning at this time? Man. All right, guys, as always, if you enjoy my analysis, me going ham, because this was an amazing episode, smash that thumbs up. Please subscribe. And as always, I really appreciate you tuning in every single week. And as always, I hope to catch you in the next train of either Death Note Wednesday or Free Run Saturday. Peace.